for the most part, I thought Date with Love was a pretty decent Hallmark film. There are a few things about it that I didn't really like that much, but generally speaking, I really enjoyed it. This was released originally in 2016, directed by Ron Oliver, written by Brook, Durham. And this stars Shenae Grimes-Beech as our protagonist, Alex. And she is a celebrity, if you like. She's a very successful actress. And a teenage boy creates a promposal, a video message to Alex asking him to be his date for the prom. Much to his surprise, she agrees, and the majority of the film is her helping out at the boys' high school, getting them ready for the prom and helping with the decorations, maybe helping a little bit too much. Meanwhile, she also meets and becomes enamored of Vincent, one of the school's teachers, played by Andrew W. Walker. Sparks are flying, but will it be appropriate for them to be together by the end of it, or will she go back to her life after prom? I'm not going to say what happens. I will say it's relatively predictable, but not the most predictable I've seen. There are elements of it that I wasn't sure about. I wasn't sure how they would kind of resolve some conflicts. For the most part, the narrative flowed quite well. I have to say it reminds me very much of the time that Blair Fowler was invited to somebody's prom through the power of YouTube. I don't know if that was the inspiration for the film, but that's absolutely what it made me think of. Alex as a protagonist, for the most part, I quite liked. But she becomes quite bossy and superficial at one point, and it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the Alex that we get to know throughout the film. Maybe you could argue that it's her showing her true colours, but I just feel like it was out of character and not really who she actually is, and that felt a little bit awkward and uncomfortable because it didn't feel like I was enjoying a believable character development. Vincent Walsh as a protagonist, as a male love interest, I thought he was fantastic. His heart is in the right places. He is brilliant. Quinn Lord plays David, who did the Promposal, and he's very likable, but my favourite is Bailee Madison, who plays Heidi. She is fantastic. She's right up my street as an individual. I thought she was really brilliant, and I loved what she brought to this and how she helped the narrative develop. I kind of feel like if she wasn't in this as a character, it might have been a tiny little bit less interesting. It was still alright, but I did kind of rely on that character and those scenes for me to continue enjoying the narrative when maybe it got a little bit more dull. For the most part, though, it was okay. The thing that I just find the weirdest is that a lot of the protagonists, obviously David and Heidi, are teenagers, and it's very, very rare that that's the case with a Hallmark rom-com. It makes sense for the narrative. Obviously, it wouldn't work otherwise, but it wasn't what I expected from Hallmark, so it was not 100% what I was in the mood for. Nevertheless, Date with Love, although the title could be a lot more interesting and a lot more unique, I mean, even just Promposal would have been a better title. But aside from that, Date with Love, although not the best, definitely has some strong points and one that I'm happy to recommend.